And I loved the philosophy tagline on the front of the rules. It said, minimum interference for maximum benefit. And I just thought, that is not what I'm seeing at the World Cup. It's not minimum interference and it's not maximum benefit.
Play-by-play on Sports Joe and Her. Brought to you by AIG, in support of 20 by 20.
So much to talk about this week. It's all kicking off, excuse the pun. Women's World Cup, spitting, tears, crazy weekend action that we are going to be dissecting. That and all the latest GAA action. I'm Jenny Murphy. This is Play by Play, brought to you by AIG. I'm going to introduce the panel. So Cork footballer, 3-time All-Ireland, Eimear Scally. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
GAA referee, 0 All-Irelands, senior level. David Gough, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think of that intro? Is it all right?
Brilliant. Love the fact that I got 0 All-Irelands.
Look, well, I did 3 up already. So.
Good, yeah. Listen, words of the week is coming at the end of the show, and some say it's worth 3 All-Irelands, so you can even it out.
Fantastic.
I'll give you
that one at the end. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be, so yes, don't get too friendly because it's going to be competitive edge when you get there. Obviously much more than referee. Give me some details. Stay in the life of referee. Want to know a bit more. It seems like the most stressful job going, middle of the pitch.
Yeah, it is a very stressful job. I mean, the whole planning around match day starts about a week in advance when you get that text to appoint you to a game. You're straight on the phone.
So it's like Love Island.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Got a text.
Yeah. Without the six-pack. But, yeah, and you straight on the phone straight away to get umpires organised, start planning the logistics of getting to the match. Like for the guys, they have someone doing that for them, a bus, a Garda escort in if there's traffic. We get none of that. Like, I mean, we have to make our own way to the grounds. If you're stuck in traffic beforehand, you're stuck. And it can be quite stressful trying to get into a match venue, particularly for big games, for finals. So a lot of logistics go into planning. And then you get there 90 minutes beforehand. You meet your official team, linesmen, your signing sheets from the secretaries in relation to the teams that are going to be playing on the day, and then it's down to business 40 minutes beforehand, mic'd up, talk to your officials, and out into the middle of the field 20 minutes before kick-off.
And do you have do you have a preferred umpire, like teammate relationship? Do you have people that you're like, I like working with him or her, we know each other well, or is it just, are you free at the weekend?
I'm going to give a great plug here to my family. My 4 umpires are all family relatives. So my dad, my brother, my uncle and my cousin, they come everywhere with me. So I wouldn't go to any game at intercounty level without them. So they always come. And then we have a panel of 18 top-class elite intercounty referees who are with us on any given day on the sidelines as well.
I'm actually picturing right now, Joe, Reservoir Dogs when they're all going in suits, except it's like a goth entourage.
A goth mafia, yeah.
Yeah, except instead of black, it's like white.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Sorry, we were interject there.
Nice to have the family in there anyway, yeah.
3 All-Irelands, you thinking about, going for a nice even number?
I might give it an old lash now this year. Yeah, pity Macker isn't here for a bit of banter. But
she left me some notes, I'll refer to them in a while. So yeah.
Worried.
Yeah, she's off training. Well, she's looking in a mirror doing bicep curls.
Yeah.
So yeah.
2 kgs are going mad.
Oh, mad. Yeah. So going for really good start. League obviously went very well. Up next, Cavan.
Yeah, so we've the league behind us and we got our Munster final there last week. It's a good win, good tough game there against Waterford down in Fraherfield. So Cavan, I think in the first round, I'm not sure, but Cavan and then the Ulster runners up. So that's hitting off in about a month or so. So we'll just get a bit of training behind us till then.
So all busy, all go. Any interest? Have you watched any of the Women's World Cup?
Yeah, tuned into a bit of it, alright, once I can kind of sit down. I'm sure you're the same.
I'm the same,
once you can actually have a moment to yourself to sit down. But I watched the game last night between, who was it again?
England, Cameroon, or France, Brazil?
Brazil and France, yeah. So that was really tense. I was watching that actually last night with my girlfriend. We were just screaming at the TV the whole time, like hitting
France,
the crossbar.
Brazil, were you cheering for anyone in particular?
I was kind of going for Brazil. I love the French team, but when I was tuning in, they were 1-0 down, and absolute players on that team, legends like Marta on that team, and I was just like, how does she keep that lipstick on? But I was kind of gunning for them to kind of get back.
Do the job, yeah, because they are. I think they're the second oldest second oldest on average team, our oldest team in the World Cup as well. So I think we're seeing the end of an era with something like that. They've got, they've got like one of their players. She's 41. They call her what's her name? Formigi. Oh my God, I always do this on the show. I can never get a name right.
It's probably completely
before,
wrong.
Yeah, it begins with F, and she's really good at football. Oh God, Formiga. Yeah, and that's not even.
Formiga.
Yeah, and that's not a real name either. It's Ant. It's a nickname for that, and she got it years ago because of her really unselfish play.
Really?
So it's like trying to be like, do we have any good nicknames on the team as well? But no, there's no good nicknames like that. I don't know, I just veered wildly off course there. Dave, what about yourself? You got any vested interest or sweepstakes?
I dip into it as much as I can, but like Eimear says, we're just so busy at the moment, and where you might be training, I can be out every night of the week refereeing underage matches, club matches in Meath, inter-county matches, challenge matches. We're just constantly on a go. We don't get as much time off as the players, no downtime for rest. But I do like to sit down and watch it.
Already.
Yeah, and they're half my age, most of them at this stage.
And what do you make, looking at it from a referee's perspective, there's a lot of discussion, obviously myself and Macros have been constantly going on about it, but it's been an area of controversy. The use of VAR in this World Cup is different to any other competition we've seen. Like it's a constant, from your point of view, good for the game?
I just find it fascinating from a referee's point of view because we don't have this technology in GAA, and it's fascinating to compare the decision making of the referees in the World Cup. I just think it's completely strange, first of all, that they would bring in these rules at the beginning of March, or VAR in March, and it's implemented in June for a World Cup. I mean, even the GAA isn't daft enough to trial their new rules during a championship season. They're done in pre-championship, smaller, maybe O'Byrne Cups or national leagues. But you wouldn't trial it, in the All Ireland series, something huge. And they've given 3 months to international players to get used to this system, and have implemented it from the 2nd of March to the 1st of June, which is absolutely crazy. And you can see the foliage.
As well to
oh,
get
absolutely.
On top of it.
Where did the education come for the referees in the space of that 3 months to get them up to a level where they could be suitably comfortable to referee on an international stage at a World Cup level and use VAR to the best possible outcome? It's crazy.
Well, like case in point, the England Cameroon game, the Chinese official Liang, there was definitely, it seemed like, from a viewer point of view, a loss of control, a few cards thrown around, some like heavy tackles, a lot of instances of what I would deem like really unsportsmanlike behaviour. Did you catch any of that game at all, or
I
see
did watch it? Yeah, I've watched it, and I obviously have my own opinions on it. But to form those opinions, I have to be honest, I went to the FIFA rulebook like any referee who is a referee would. So, I'm sitting beside a player here, and I'd love to know, you play Gaelic games, your knowledge of the rules probably came from coaches or teachers or parents or other players, whereas my knowledge of the rules actually comes from a rule book. So there's a huge discrepancy in what my understanding and knowledge of the rules are and what players are. So to sit here and give an informed opinion, I actually went and looked up the rules like a referee nerd.
Oh, what a Saturday night!
Yes. But it's completely it's interesting, and I love the philosophy tagline on the front of the rules. It said minimum interference for maximum benefit, and I just thought that is not what I'm seeing at the World Cup. It's not minimum interference, and it's not maximum benefit. So it's brought in relation to goals, penalties, red cards, and another one, mistaken identity, which very rarely happens in matches with referees. But the referee can only call for VAR in cases of goals, penalties, and red card incidents. VAR can come into the ear of the referee and can say to the referee, you need to look at this, or not that you need to, we suggest you look at this. But if the referee does not want to look at it, she does not have to initiate the VAR. And I think that's fascinating. You're talking about the incidents with the 2 yellow cards, so the tackle on the ankle of the player, the elbow, and the spitting incident, which wasn't seen to be seen at all. The referee made a decision on the spot. She issued yellow cards to those players. Therefore, she has dealt with the decision. It can't be changed. She had no option to go to VAR at that time afterwards. It's just fascinating how the protocol works and how you can initiate a review of the incidents and get the correct result. And it's been hugely controversial in relation to the penalties and the goalkeepers on the line.
Oh, I just feel so sorry for, especially like the case point like the Argentina-Scotland penalty shootout.
Exactly.
Just millimetres, Scottish goalkeeper millimetres off the line, and then a retake, and then that's your World Cup kind of done. Would you like to see something along the lines of VAR being brought into the women's game? I know we have Hawkeye. Like, I don't myself see it happening, but could you make an argument for it?
Well, like, seeing what's happening in the Women's World Cup, the way VAR is being used, I'd hate for it to be brought into our game because it is a huge interference. Obviously, there's pros and cons, but
I heard Macker said that you always throw elbows and digs.
I do like to throw an elbow and take a boot off, and you know.
Yeah, and the referee always misses it. Of course, it's always our fault.
Yeah. Forwards get away with everything. Oh. Macker well knows.
She's not here to defend herself. I don't know what to do.
But no, like, I think generally in ladies football, I don't know how much you'd follow it, but it's never really a dirty game. I really do believe that. So to have something like that brought in would almost spur maybe dirty play or these decisions. Generally, I think most referees and officials get things right. Obviously there's been times where I've been involved in the game where people might be like, oh, the referee screwed us for that game, but like generally in the last year or two, the progression in refereeing level has like increased hugely, and I don't think there's a need for something like that to come in. I think the game is progressing and it's picking up momentum, and I just don't think it needs to be interfered like that.
I would say though that in fairness to VAR, the decisions that have resulted in relation to VAR have been correct decisions. The referees have made the correct decision each time. We had the 2 disallowed goals for Cameroon, and yes, the goalkeeper moved off the line. It's so tough. But if the rules state that she cannot move off the line, or at least 1 foot must remain on the line, well, that is the rule. You're following the rules. So the correct result has happened. Now, if you're a goalkeeper and you want to narrow down an angle, you're going to move forward. But I do have a little bit of sympathy for them, because if they stay on the line and dive sideways, they're going for the post. So there has to be some sort of leeway that they can progress and move forward and save the ball, but keeping 1 foot on the line. If it's a rule, it has to be adhered to, because if you start to give a player or a goalkeeper a small bit of leeway, how far do you go before you stop?
Of course,
and you can't quantify that. You can't quantify that distance, And I know now that they've also changed the rules in relation to the goalkeepers, because they were so worried if the goalkeeper does that, it's an automatic yellow card. We're now getting down to the knockout stages, and you're going to have goalkeepers being yellow carded in penalty shootouts. If a goalkeeper's red carded as a result of it, which would be 2 yellows for doing it twice, they can't be substituted. So you have a farcical situation then where there's going to be no goalkeeper, and you're going to have to throw a striker from the starting 11 or the finishing 11. And FIFA have changed the rules or relaxed them. But again, with FIFA changing rules in the middle of a World Cup, I mean, it's just a totally farcical situation.
Even from a rugby perspective, that there's rule changes, but we have a certain amount of time to kind of adjust. And what they've started to do in recent times is they actually bring in referees, and it's kind of, again, we're seeing it. You learn from play, but we're also trying to learn from what is the referee looking for in this situation, especially at the breakdown or areas where there's a high penalty count. You need to try and aim for at least 6 penalties or less in a game, or you're going to be racking up scores or giving away kind of territory where you're not necessarily wanting to. So for me anyway, I think it would be, you were saying that there's a divide between this is how you learn the rules and this is how I learn the rules. And I find it really beneficial just because you get Q&As with top quality referees that come in, and with the likes of Joy Neville and David O'Brien come in, and why was that pinged? And so we go over older footage that we kind of would be kind of areas, and then as well, referees, they know where other teams give away certain penalties. When you know that, you're kind of keeping your eye out more for it as well. So you want to be seen as a clean team that knows the rules well and adheres to it. So head into the Cork footballers, give them a little like Q&A. This is what you're doing wrong, Eimear. Yeah. See, you were biting in that. Yeah. Nice. We're going to stick with the England-Cameroon game for a while because I just find it wasn't a great game or a spectacle for women's football. There was Brazil-France. It was an absolute cracker, really exciting, loads of attacking football. And even though England did bag 3 goals, there was a lot of contention and play that I don't know if I was a fan. If I was a fan of Cameroon, I don't think I'd be particularly happy with how the side kind of behaved or conducted themselves. Do you have any kind of... I don't think the referee could have done anything about it. They nearly looked like they were going to walk off the pitch at one stage for a VAR decision that was correct in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Ellen Page, wasn't it? For the goal. She was well on side for that goal. And the way that they conducted themselves and were to step off the pitch like that, threatening to do so. These girls are representing their country. There's plenty of people looking up to them, boys and girls, and they're supposed to, be a national figure for them. Obviously, you have to stand by your decisions, but something like that was just, I think, it was just out of line completely. Did you see the massive shoulder on the referee during the game?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it's like in that situation, how do you deal with that?
You just often get in the way of players. That's the way I put it, whether it's intentional or not. Like, we're all out there. There's 31 of us on that field, and I have to fight for my ground sometimes as well to get the best view.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get in the way, and it happens.
So,
sore the next morning.
Oh, right. And have you guys ever come across any play that so one instance in particular that I was like, I don't know what I would have done if there's the spitting incident. Mm-hmm. So I think just after England scored their first goal, I can't remember the Cameroon player, but she spat on the England player's arm. They didn't see it in VAR anyway. It wasn't something to be brought back. Goal was already scored. Any instance like that, or like you've said before, it's pretty clean kind of.
Yeah, in all honesty, I've never come across a player that's that I could come to mind now where they were slanderous or anything like that. I suppose you have to look at does it come into play after a game? Does a Cameroon player, is she picked up on that? Is there a disciplinary thing? I don't know if that's in soccer.
And I actually don't know.
The way there is in rugby,
I don't.
Citing.
Yeah. But as well as that, even if for me, if that happened to me, because I'm not the captain, or if your captain necessarily isn't in the forwards, I can't speak to the referee, which is so frustrating. But it's also, I think it's actually really good because you're not going. I have to go to Paul, or I have to go to whoever's the captain. Be like, you tell him, and he could be right there. And it just kind of. It means that you're not constantly harassing the referee all the time. So you're going to use up one of your lives if it's really important. But you don't want your captain constantly in here. Would you like to see something like that? Because in soccer it's so frustrating. You see some decision be made and then swarms around the referee.
I just think with the whole space and dynamics of a rugby game, it's much easier for the captain to be closer to the referee. The captain could be a goalkeeper in the case of Stephen Cluxton, and I'm down the other end of the field, so it might not work as easily. What I do love is what they have in hockey, which is something I'd love to see brought in, is a green card, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but if the manager or any of the officials on the sideline, we'll say mentors, get abusive towards the referee or the linesman, they take out a green card and show it to the captain, and the captain is sin bin for 2 minutes because of the result, the behaviour of the manager. And it's fantastic, and I've seen it in operation, and it is brilliant. And it's so frustrating then for the captain of the team is sin bin for 2 minutes because of the behaviour of the coach and staff. And I'd love to see that brought in.
Oh my God, I'd actually love to. I'm picturing now some very vocal coaches and managers. And if a captain got sent off,
shout out to my dad.
Well, if you can give him a plug if you want. Drop the full name. So there was the results. We better go over some of the results that happened first. So it was Germany beat Nigeria 3-0. Norway, Australia, penalties in the end. Oh, so sad seeing Sam Kerr just sitting on a pitch, wallowing. And I'm like, oh, I know how she, there's, And you're like, so that was... Norway is through, England, Cameroon, and then France knocked out Brazil. We spoke a little bit about that. You spoke about again that could be potentially one of Marta's last World Cup games. Probably regarded as one of the best footballers of this generation. Last generation, she's playing for so long, so she covers a few brackets. And afterwards she spoke on camera, and it was directed at the Brazilian public, because a lot of their they've had a lot of problems and issues background wise with staff. So they've one of their coaches, they got a manager in, a female manager, I think one of the first female manager for Brazil football. She was fired after 6 games, and they basically gave their old manager their job back, which none of the players wanted. The amount of sexist things that this manager has said is terrible as well. I don't have the quote for that on hand, but I do have what some of what Marta said translated. So it's about wanting more, it's about training more, it's about looking after yourself more, it's about being ready to play 90 minutes and then 30 minutes more. So that's why I'm asking the girls. There's not going to be a Formiga forever, there's not going to be a Marta, there's not going to be a Christiane. Women's football depends on you to survive. Think about it, value it more, cry now so you can smile at the end. Yes. And all with amazing lipstick still fully intact. Yeah.
None on her teeth.
Yeah. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah, like is there any players that, well, playing from you, that have had such an impact on the game and have pushed more, that you'd be like, oh, they're the Marta football? That's a big question to ask. But is there a player that you think of offhand that's had an impact on you and made you want to wear the Cork jersey?
So many. I think like Jura O'Flynn kind of sparks mine there. I was fortunate enough to play for a year or two with her, and she was like fantastic. She was type of person that once she opens her mouth, everyone just goes mute, and that you just absorb every bit of information that she's saying. And it might not be much, but it was the way she played on the pitch. It was exemplary. For me to see her go year after year with Cork when I was just supporting them, she was just such a positive role model for me, and such of her, Breed Stack, Val Mulcahy, all these players, they were just so influential in for me. And the same now, like Orla Finn, all the current crop of players, I'd like to say they're all very inspirational. So you're not leaving out anybody, you're just like, you better better name drop them all.
Yeah,
so I must say her, Eamon Ryan, even when I came in first, he was just so much wisdom came from his mouth, like, and it does still stick with me to this day.
And what about yourself? Was there a referee that you were like,
actually,
I want to do that?
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to be from the same county as David Gough in Meath. David's refereed 3 All-Ireland senior finals, the top referee in the country. And I was very fortunate to get so much advice from him when I was younger, just to be able to pick up the phone and say, David, this happened to me this weekend, this is how I dealt with it. What should I have done? And he'd talk you through it. And it was always constructive. Never, he didn't berate you or anything. He just, was so supportive. And he's still there now. And it's so nice to be in a position now where, I'm working with him sometimes on a weekly basis, at matches, and we work together and going to seminars, watching video clips and, training with him. It's so nice to have that friendship and that closeness with someone, because unlike the inter-county players, you all train Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever nights. You have 30 of a team and you get together and you're all from the one county. There's 18 of us from every corner of Ireland. To get us all together for training on a night is a really difficult thing. And we train once every 3 weeks in Abbottstown. We all come down, but you have people like Conor Lane coming from Cork, Sean Hurson coming from Tyrone, Jerome Henry coming from Mayo, and they're 3.5 to 4 hour journeys just to get to. It's a huge commitment.
You see, never even I wouldn't even think because it's Gaelic is a team sport, and I'm probably guilty in a lot of regards if you forget about the man or woman in the middle that's actually making the game flow. So for you, you're an individual athlete to a certain...
And we all train as hard as the players. I mean, we have our own things to be doing during the week, and it's trying to fit your training in around the constant barrage of phone calls from county secretaries, club secretaries. Can you do a game? Can you come down? We need you here. And it's trying to fit it all in. But, we work as hard as the players because it is as important. We're all looking for that All-Ireland Ireland the same way as the players are.
Well, as well as that, like, well, when I was playing full forward, at least you could like have a look and be like, oh, the ball's down there. But you're pretty much like a centre midfielder being like, oh, someone's on a run again.
in the square,
yeah. Pain. And I'd be like, oh.
I know.
Or if you have someone running and you're man marking, you're like, one of these. Oh, God damn it.
They've now fitted us with GPS monitors as well, so we're afraid not to move. Heart rate monitors, GPS monitors. So as soon as that ball is gone, we're gone with it. There's no lagging behind.
Is there any like kilometres that you've clocked up that you're like pretty proud of covering that?
Oh, 11. Close to 11 in a match, yeah. At the low end, 9, but definitely between 9 and 11, yeah.
See, I was at a Gaelic match the other day and I was just looking at it, and it's not been so long since I played. I'm like, oh, the size of this pitch is disgusting. Gross. So yeah, like a midfielder that's basically man marking the ball. So yeah, fair play. Sorry, that was yeah. Well, we'll stick with Gaelic games now that we're on it. So what seemed like an absolutely cracking provincial final with Connacht at the weekend. So Mayo versus Galway decider. It was 112 to 3 points to 6. Yeah, so all draw. They go again July 7th. I was really raging that I couldn't get to see any of that game. It sounded like an absolute belter. Penalty saves, red cards. Oh, I think there's like a free kick in the last 15 seconds to win it, and then went wide. That was. Any thoughts? Do you have any idea? Like, is it going to sway? Is that draw? Will it lie for Mayo? Do you think Galway's going to be the one to push through?
Oh, it's tough, yeah. I suppose Mayo have come a long way since their Connacht final 12 months ago. Both teams have like progressed hugely in the way they've adapted their own games, but like in all honesty, I didn't think there was going to be much of a score difference in the game, but I did think that Galway were going to win it. I suppose going on their form in the league, we played them in the league final, they're very good. It is such a huge layoff from the league to a Connacht final. Like, they had no championship games since they were knocked out in the league. Even before that, Mayo were knocked out 2 games before Galway, so it was very tough for them. But the game was like so scrappy because of the weather, but it was so enjoyable to watch. But like as you said, it had it all. Lisa, I can't think of her first name, the Galway keeper got sent off, and Dervla came on and she saved it. Like, it was a huge moment. Like, this is so good. I saw her running onto the pitch, and like, but she looked so up for it. She wasn't acting confident, which was great, and that's what you need in a goalkeeper. And to see her pull off a save like that just after being seconds introduced, it was fantastic, in fairness.
She should move off the line by any chance.
Yeah, I thought they could have called her on for VAR there, yeah. Imagine.
VAR. Well, some of the crew were down at the launch of the LGFA last week, so they've partnered up with AIG. Reporter Lorna Lawless was chatting to Ciara Trent, Dublin, Niamh Carr in Donegal, and Anya McDonough from Galway. Now, Eimear, you were there too, and you were interviewed, but then you were cut from the clip that we're about to show. Yeah,
Thank
like
God.
The producer Niamh is saying is, because she's here now, there's no need, but it could be just you're actually really, really bad in the clip.
That's
and
why
like,
you got me on the show instead.
Yeah, she's just like, she's dire. Let's just cut her and like invite her on. Yeah.
And you still come on.
Yeah, fair play. So yeah, let's take a listen.
This episode of Play by Play, Niamh McAvoy was talking about how like the provincial structure being part of the All Ireland isn't really right. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's difficult going into championship, Leinster Championship, and just having one game for both teams, for Dublin and Westmeath. And it probably needs to change in the future, but that's not something we're talking about. We're focused on, getting over the line, winning Leinster, and that's our sole focus at the moment.
Well, I think, it's tough that, like, especially for the likes of us, Mayo, Dublin and Westmeath, you go straight into that provincial final, whereas, like, obviously the other counties, like up in Ulster and Munster, would have, a couple more games under the belt, so it's definitely tough for us, to go straight into kind of final. So definitely I think something like that could be changed or something, but I do think that it has improved a little bit, that there has been, you go into group stages instead of before, like 2017 we went straight from a kind of final into 8-week layover and then straight into a quarter final against Cork, so like it's very hard to keep the girls motivated and to stay like training away for that long coming into that game. So I definitely do think that there could be slight changes that could be made.
Just because all very competitive teams, and we get we obviously have the first one and then the semi-final and the final, so we've had 3 extremely tough matches that have been very, very good, and it'll benefit us when it comes to Ulster final day. So for us, I think it's a good thing. Yeah, it works well for us.
And do you think you feel a bit more confident, I suppose, and you would, from just having such tough games? Like, would you feel better prepared going into it than maybe Dublin, for example?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think so. Like, I've been speaking to Anya McDonough from Galway, and then obviously Eimear Scally, actually, for Cork, they have a kind of a round robin thing, so it worked out well for them as well. And then for Dublin, they only have 1 match. But I think for us, having the 2 matches before the Ulster final, it's only going to benefit us. Like, for example, this year we have a little bit of a younger team, a less experienced team, and having them 2 tough matches, like the game against Cavan the last day, was almost like an Ulster final when the final whistle went. It kind of had pressure, it had sticky situations, it had sending offs, it had everything nearly in an Ulster final. So I think when it comes to Ulster final day now for us, we'll be, as you say, more confident in ourselves that we can, when our backs are against the wall, kind of be able to get over the line. So yeah, I think it'll benefit us definitely in the long run.
There are calls for FIFA to start like investing more money in the game, and ladies football is growing so amazingly, but like, what needs to be done now, do you think?
I think the onus is now back on players and teams, regardless of the sport. We're getting the attention, we're getting the coverage, and now we need to raise our standards, make the game more interesting for people to come to talk about, to invest in. So it's back on us, I think.
I think though, like the thing that Little's working on with the grassroots and making sure that the club level it's really growing. And I think even in my own club at home, we had an Easter camp there at Easter, and the amount of girls that have been out in comparison to other years is huge, and I think it's just growing from here on, and hopefully now it can keep going. Yeah.
Do you think it's important for the male counterparts in GAA to come up behind the women's teams to show support and to get kind of drive a following as well from their side to kind of get more people out watching your games?
Yeah, I definitely do think that is important as well, because like, you know, they do have a lot of following, and we're kind of in the day and age that, you know, young people can be influenced to, you know, if they see the likes coming to our game or supporting us, then, you know, the younger generation will want to do the exact same. So definitely the men could, you know, give us a bit of a hand in that kind of way, and, you know, maybe say, you know, go support the girls or something like that, something small, or even them turning up to a game, you know, might then, if someone hears, oh, did you hear they were at the game, might go to the game trying to get a peek. So yeah, definitely they could help us out a little bit as well.
What would you like to see the GAA and the LGFA, would you like to see them get in a room and start talking about like practical ways to move forward?
Yeah, obviously that would be ideal. As of now, I don't know if that's something that is possible. I think even in terms of like double headers and things like that, they've been great. We've luckily been involved in a few this year. Even the league, we actually had a match in Croke Park, which was great for us. There's a lot of girls that have never played in Croke Park before, and maybe unless you get to an All-Ireland final, you actually don't get the opportunity to play in Croke Park. So for us, that was actually our first game of the league. We got to play there. We got to play in front of the men in Donegal, in O'Donnell Park and Letterkenny. That was huge for us. We got to play in Parky Rin in front of the Cork and Donegal men as well. So for us, even in the league, we had 3 huge matches, and I think that more of them can only kind of bring the game forward. Also, there's a lot of things obviously that could improve, maybe like travel and expenses. We just heard there a couple of days ago about Mayo and the new partnership with Top Oil, and I think that's something that maybe people say involved with the LGFA, that maybe we actually don't get the same kind of recognition in that kind of way. We are moving forward and things are progressing. It just would be nice to maybe have a bit of more of a equal on both sides.
Thanks a million. That was Lorna there chatting with some of the crew. She's the AIG reporter. Great job. That sounded patronising. It didn't mean to sound patronising. I'm going to totally regret that now. Oh God, Lorna's going to hate me now. Sorry, Lorna. So in the last episode of Play by Play, Marker was talking a little bit about the provincial structure and how in Leinster at the moment, basically Dublin go straight to the final, which, well, from an outsider perspective, that's probably not ideal. Do you have any thoughts on like changes or how you would kind of fix or tidy that up a little bit?
Yeah, it's tough because you have obviously the junior, intermediate and senior championship, which I think is brilliant. Like if teams aren't good enough for senior, there's no point in them being up there getting a good beating. Do you know, it's not good for their confidence. Smacker was saying last week in the show, like if they're good enough for intermediate, build their way up and then get up to senior, you know. Obviously it was tough luck on Tipperary ladies teams that, like, you know, going down intermediate after 1 year in senior was tough because they are good enough for
They
senior.
played some
They're so
brilliant
good,
football.
you know,
yeah.
it is really disheartening for them, to be fair. For us, we're lucky enough, we had a round robin, so I had 3 games in Munster, including the Munster final, and to carry that competitiveness of championship into the round robin series of the All-Ireland is very good for us. I can definitely see that it is a disadvantage for the likes of Westmeath, Dublin, Mayo and Galway, whereas ourselves and Ulster are getting good competitive games before we head into the All-Ireland.
Yeah, you can nearly figure out these are the tweaks we need to make. So by the time you're
it's
like 5
tough,
games
yeah.
in, or like even less, you're kind of, this is how you like to play, and you make your adjustments or
Course,
whatever.
yeah.
So, as a Kildare supporter, I've hope. Maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Hope, yeah.
Yeah.
So Women's World Cup, right? There's a big call switching back. We're going back and forth because I can clearly not stick to any structure whatsoever, and I wrecked my producer's head. So Niamh, I apologise. I'm so sorry. There's more calls again, like referring back to Marta to invest and put money into Women's World Cup, because we've seen now that's the highest viewing from a UK audience watching their women's team. I think over in the States as well, it was something really high as well. I should probably know. It was in the millions. It was a big number. Ladies football have done so well in the investment that they've made, and you now see like players on the sides of buses, and now like my little cousins and my friends' kids, they now know players and their names, and it's not just the the Brogans and the Cluxons, it's the Goldricks. And do you think that FIFA can learn something from how the LGFA are doing things and implement it in that regard? That's a tough question. I'm chucking it on you, so apologies to both people.
This is your forte. Off you go. Football.
Selling her up the river, David.
Thought you were sound. Yeah, no, definitely there's things that they could take from the LGFA. The LGFA, as anyone can see in Ireland, have put in a huge amount of work into their sponsorship, the funding, everything. The biggest thing is getting the participation up in sport and getting the numbers out to see us on All-Ireland final day. Now, obviously, you'd love to see more numbers out for, the qualifiers and things like that. So I think there could be something worked on there, but within the county, not putting that on the LGFA themselves as an association. But to see the way the World Cup has been put on RTE stations for girls, to watch that is just I can be here someday. So just to see all that stuff is really, really cool.
Do you think that do you think a conversation needs to take place with the LGFA and the GAA to sit down and maybe come up together? I know with the women's union they were both separate unions, and then they pulled together. It was you're the same team, you're just 2 different genders, so we're all under one union now. Do you think that that's something that could be, is that where women's football needs to go? Or
they're definitely more aligned with the GAA than they have been in the past, and I know they're working within internal structures within Croke Park on committees in relation to memorandums of understanding between the 2 codes. So I definitely think the conversation is being had, and it will progress. But I think the biggest thing for lady sport is the visual aspect of it, and as we've alluded to already, it's media. It needs coverage. It needs TV coverage. I mean, we're a sports mad nation here. We will watch sport no matter what it is, and I think the fact that the Women's World Cup, like the rugby, like any sporting events, if there's female athletes, we will sit and watch it. If it's athletics, if it's tennis, if it's rugby, if it's soccer, if it's ladies football, if it's on the TV, we will watch it. So I think it's up to the female sporting organisations just to broker better deals for their games and get it out there, get it on TV. People are happy to watch it. It's a good product, it's a good brand.
Eimear, what do you think yourself of that, kind of jumping into that LGFA, GAA kind of
alignment? As you said, them having discussions is great, and it only progresses things. It'd be hard to see a complete merge there, because I know the LGFA are making such strides. It's almost a case of it'd be great to see them go on and do the full thing and continuing what they're doing. But at the same time, there could only be positives from a merger too. But it'd be hard to you need to be careful in that aspect, that it's that they're merging and then all the LGFA committee members are just thrown to the side either. There is that little bit of thinking in that too. But if if it was properly sought out and talked about, I think it can only be positive.
Yeah, I think obviously with the stronger union or whatever, it can only do
Look,
good
you're
for
doing
the
the
game.
best, yeah. Not that you're just, stepping to the side and letting whoever take charge. It needs to be complete backing through the women and the GAA Association.
And we're going to stick with GAA, but it's GAA Pride. So this is for the first time in the history of the association of the GAA. They'll be represented this year at Pride. David, you're going to be leading part of it.
I'm going to be fronting up Pride with
nice. Congrats.
with Valerie Mulcahy. So really looking forward to that on Saturday. Cannot wait. Plans are still well underway.
Did you get a text? Is that how you found out?
No, I didn't get a text this time. I was so disappointed. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. For anyone out there that's watching that wants to walk on the day, they can just register with gender diversity at JOE.ie. Send an email, let people know you're interested, and they'll keep a band for you to walk in the parade. It was fantastic this week to see O'Neill's with their Proud to Be range, and it's getting great traction on social media. I certainly never thought I'd see rainbow colours on a GAA jersey, and I can't wait to get my hands on one and wear it on the day. I had planned on wearing my Slane jersey down O'Connell Street, but it looks like I'm going to be wearing something a little bit more representative for the GAA community. But really looking forward to it. There's a lot of people signed up to it, LGBT and allies. So some of our straight allies within the GAA are going to walk with us as well, and I believe we might have a former president walking with us under the GAA banner as well.
Yeah, it's such a huge deal because in years past, I think the GAA, would you have said they maybe would have disassociated or just been like, leave that over there, and now it's kind of gung ho?
I just think that's a bit unfair on the GAA. What I would say about the GAA is that as a community-based organisation, they represent communities all around the country. And Irish society and communities hadn't changed much until 2015, where we saw a real display in a change of attitudes towards LGBT with the marriage equality referendum. And as I said, the GAA represents Irish communities. So it just took them a few years to get their ducks in a row and line things up, and they've changed as a result, and they're representing the communities around the country. So they've moved pretty quick in the last 4 years, I have to be honest.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that jersey. And do you have to do a speech or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, I think Eddie McGuinness, the Pride manager, has asked me to get up on stage in Merrion Square and say a few words. So that might be a little bit daunting, because usually we're very silent creatures on the pitch. But no, I look forward to it. It's something different. And
I know you spoke a lot about your own personal experience. Is that something that you not necessarily talk about on the day, but you're seeing a little bit more of it now in the media, which is something lovely. Was that easy for you to kind of basically put yourself out there and share those personal experiences?
No, it wasn't easy, but I would say I had the backing of my family and friends, which made it an awful lot easier, because I knew once I had their support. And I had spoken to them about what I was going to say, and they gave huge positive feedback that I knew it was going to be okay. But thankfully, because of that, I was able to go onto the Late Late and speak about very personal issues that maybe I wouldn't have shared with people before.
No, and I would imagine for you, pardon the pun, it gives you a sense of pride, because this is the first sports association in Ireland that they've started a gender
diversity work group. So
yeah.
They have Tenny and belong to involved in that, and they're the first national governing sporting body to do something like that. Which, when you think about where the GAA was 5 years ago to where they are now,
and now they're just firing on ahead. Yeah,
I mean, it's absolutely it's incredible, and particularly for being a male athlete. There are so few male athletes. You could count on one hand, if you were to name out and proud male athletes worldwide. I mean, how many would come to mind if you remove Nigel Owens and Tom Daly from that? Maybe a couple of swimmers. That's it. And growing up, I had no male athlete role models that were openly gay. There were so many in female sport, and particularly tennis. I played a lot of tennis. There were so many female athletes and tennis players that were out and open, and they were huge role models for young girls, but I didn't have any growing up. So it's nice now to be in a situation where we are having the conversation, we are opening the channels for people to come out, and hopefully there'll be a few more male out role models for the young people of Ireland in the future.
Yeah, because even just thinking about it from a rugby, think of it as rugby, and with like a lot of my teammates are out and open, but then when their male counterparts, I can only think of one Welsh player, but he obviously it was after retirement, so, and it's such a, well, sports itself can be such a masculine bag of, I don't know, testosterone and muscle. Yeah. You're just, I'd like, hopefully something like this, you'll see more people. Again, like when you see women on TV playing sports, it opens it up and it's kind of like, I could be that person. And when you see more people in the public eye, being who they are and being proud of it, like, hopefully it gives other people a bit of courage as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on the float anyway.
No floats, jeez, no. It's enough just to walk down the street. Oh, yeah.
Do you have any like accessories or anything that you're going to be like blitz it out a little bit?
Oh,
or
I might bling it up with a rainbow wristband. You never know. I'll finally get to wear it. No, we have our all GAA banners and logos and flags and everything. Everything's in order. Yeah, so it's going to look fantastic. Should be a fun day.
Historical moment, unbelievable. Massive congratulations again. And you're also going for other stuff as well. So it's like All Ireland, still having an eye on that. We won't talk about that, but it's in the distance. It's on the radar.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I'm crossing that you get that text. Yeah. Grand. We just have time for words of the week. Guys, thanks so much for sticking with my really waffly questions. I'll work on that. So if you do come on next time, they'll be a lot more succinct. But now it's competition time. David, your favourite part? You've been like building towards this. Words of the week. Okay, I better explain the rules because Amber Barrett didn't know the bloody rules last time. Basically, I'm going to read out a quote. It could be from a female athlete, female coach, some female that's good at sports or coaching sports or involved in sports. And you guys have to guess who the person is. Easy. It's going to be great. Prime time podcasting. Okay, this is a quote. I know the weather is good, but you don't have to throw your bottles into the sea at Dún Laoghaire because of it.
Like, you got this.
I have an idea who it is, but I'm afraid to say. Is
Serena Williams.
No, it's not Serena Williams.
It is Serena, it has to be.
Oh, she loves a good dip in the 40 foot. Classic Serena.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Our Irish Olympic sailor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm not going to get her name now, but she does sail out of Dún Laoghaire.
So think about it. It's like Cork Guinness.
Murphy.
Yep.
Yeah.
First name. Annalise.
Annalise. I knew began with A. Oh well.
I'll give you half.
No, I'm taking that. No, I'm taking that.
No, score is going to Davis.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Absolutely shocking. Mackers would say you'd pull something like that. So yeah, classic. Stuck to the script there.
I think it's on camera that he shook on it.
Yeah. No, it's fine. She forced your hand. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting away. If anyone is listening and wants to find out about what's going on in the world of women's sports, if you head to 20by20.ie event, the calendar is there, so you'll get to check out all that's going on in the week ahead, which we'll be talking about next week. Thanks a million for watching. Again, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
You're very welcome.